Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are and whatever time it is. I hope you are having a good one. Welcome back to House Flipper 2 with Rash Decision. If you enjoy this type of content, please leave me a like, subscribe, and maybe even a comment to let me know. Enjoy the video. I do apologize. I'm gonna have to stop there. I'm getting very frustrated. So I do apologize. I got through most of it. I got through the entire downstairs and I started working on the upstairs. I didn't have much more to do, but it seemed like every time I came into a new room, it felt more like a chore than it did like decorating a home. I really hate it that I have to feel that way, but this is the first time I've done that. This is the first time I felt that way. This is a house that I feel the developer should have put a lot more into and not relied quite so much on the player, because unfortunately, as decent as the house is coming out, it is very frustrating to be given all these extra boxes and all these extra little things and knickknacks with no context as to where they were meant to go, and you kind of have to guess at it. Now, of course, I've done this for quite a bit, and I've done this quite a few times in videos, so I've gotten pretty good at just figuring out where things need to go, even if they're not where the developer quite intended. Like, for example, this little extra croissant right here, I had no idea what to do with it. I genuinely didn't. I really kind of got upset that it didn't have like an obvious home, like all the candles kind of floating around, all of the extra little things like the rose bush and this bush right here. I'm not quite sure what some of these were attempting to accomplish. As well, there's a lot of design elements in this house that are very questionable. This house definitely has some really cool design elements that I would like to see more of. Do not take anything I'm saying as true negativity. Everything I say is constructive criticism, and I really believe that. I don't want to sound like I'm too negative about this because there are some cool things here. For example, a lot of the built-in structures of this house, such as like these cabinets right here, and the built-in cabinets within the laundry room here, these are all awesome. I genuinely want to see more of this kind of thing. I love the combination of like this flat paneling for the walls and then this like rough hewn floor. I love this combination. Like, I really like what you've done with the bathroom as far as the material choices in the walls and the floor. There's a lot of color, a lot of texture. Everything here is amazing. I like it. And then you get to the living room, where I have this awesome built-in cabinet set, but everything is black. There's nothing wrong with using black in a house design. My pseudo-modern house is a testament to that. In fact, I'm going to be reusing a black ceiling in the modern house when I redo it. But this, I'm sorry to say, but this is overdoing it. This is a little bit too dark. You have the ceilings up above, and you've done a great job contrasting and kind of tying that material back into like the knobs and the little details here and there, but this is far too heavy. Black and dark colors make a room feel very heavy, and light colors make a room feel very light. So the fact that you have heavy up top and light down below, it almost feels like literally this is one room that you have on the floor and with a different room kind of slapped on top of it. It feels like two different rooms that are trying to be mashed together, and it doesn't really work too well. If this were something other than black, I could agree with it. For a great example, like I said previously, I've used it before myself in the pseudo-modern house, but what I did there is I made the ceiling black and ran beams across it to give it that extra, the pop that you're seeing out of the ceiling here. And then the walls were generally a bright color. I didn't keep them dark. I kept the ceiling black to make it look taller, but what you've got here is you've got a tall ceiling that looks shorter, and it kind of fights itself because of that. On top of that, you have what looks like walls and our ceiling that are placed on top of a different room entirely. The kitchen is actually another area where frustration really set in here because there was just so many little tiny knickknacks with no context as to where they go. This house honestly would have been better to use as a true model house instead of requesting the player to put it together and make a job out of it. This house honestly would have been far more entertaining as a model. Just simply allow the player to walk through and see what you've done rather than play through it. Now, I will say there is a point to be made that when you play through it, you do stop and notice a lot of the extra little features and things that you placed in. There is a little bit to be left to be desired, like a few issues like this paint line. I'm not sure if that was actually meant to be there. But if we were going to leave that paint line there, I would rather have seen this entire wall be painted to kind of contrast what you have over here. Now, I've actually I've said something about this previously, but these cabinets would be completely unusable. Like, you realize that this character is somewhere around 6 feet tall, maybe a little bit more, somewhere around maybe a little bit less than 2 meters, or maybe right at 2 meters. And these cabinets are clearly above his head. So you're talking about having to like already reach up and just to open it and to kind of get in there. And then if you really wanted to actually be able to see in there, you'd have to get a step stool, which is never a good idea to get into cabinets. Like you see it in like stores and things like that with like the ladders, but a lot of those that they don't tell you about have specialized feet so that the more weight is put onto a foot, the more it tries to force that weight over to other feet. They have really intricate little spring systems, at least a lot of the modern ones do. Some of the older ones don't. But yeah, it's never a good idea to have to use a step stool to get up into just your basic cabinets. This right here is a great design. Love this design, but it needs to be brought down. I've said it before, but 1, 2, 3 is usually the level that I like to put the bottom of the cabinets. So we have three spaces or 24 inches, I guess is the better way to put it, of backsplash, and then the cabinets would start from there. That's going to be the far better way to do it, especially with like these shelves over to the side. These shelves I actually have no problem with. They're great. They're a great addition. Absolutely. I like these shelves too. If this was a situation where we didn't have the cabinets up top, these shelves would be perfect. I would love them. But because you have those cabinets up there, there's not really a reason for these shelves. And more so than that, they kind of get in the way. Because even though it shows up fine here, in the real world, if you put a light up here and then a shelf down below it, you're only going to get a very tiny amount of light on this countertop, and it's not really going to do much for you, even though you have this great big light. But going back to the previous statement, when you're talking about these shelves, these upper two shelves are completely useless to you because even if you could get all the way in here, there's no way you could reach them. Like we're talking an arm's length might be able to get to that corner, and that's like extremely stretching it. Even to get to the items that are on this shelf, you would need a step stool to get up there to get them. So these two shelves would be okay for like decoration, but they don't really have a place in this kitchen. More so than that, again, like I was saying previously about the frustration of placing items, I was having to just throw them down and see what comes out of the box because well, a problem I have with moving boxes is, and I hate this. This isn't just one or two players. We're talking about every time I do one of these, and I do one off screen just to test it, or I do one on screen just to look at it for a Mod Review Monday, what have you. I dislike the concept of just put down box, player goes to box, takes that item, and just over and over, just taking things out of the box en masse. Do some of that for the player. Give the player something more substantial to do. Like, for example, when I was placing like the kettle and like the items for the stove, that was entertaining to me entirely because I kind of knew where they went and I wanted to arrange them in the way I wanted to arrange them. Give the players the freedom of their creativity and keep your creativity in the base model. Alongside that, I would like to say that the state the house is in when you come to it, with all of the trash absolutely everywhere, and I mean just completely shotgunned through the entire house, but then like the stairs are in perfect condition. You can't really expect a player to do everything, but I would also make the call that you can't really hope that the player has the attention span to do most of it. There was a lot of trash in here. And in fact, if we actually go out and go downstairs, there was a section where the bathroom doesn't quite terminate at the wall here and it kind of bleeds out into the yard and the outside. It still thinks I have a couple of pieces of trash, but I have looked everywhere. Like I even went off screen and just marched around the house 2 or 3 times trying to find any little tiny bits of trash that may have been left behind. But the only thing I can think is that they're clipped into geometry. And that actually is an issue I also encountered in here, where part of the wall that needed to be painted was hidden behind this cabinet, as well in the kitchen, part of the floor that needed to be floored where it was hidden underneath these cabinets right here. And as a result, I just have to say that the player experience for this particular job has not been the greatest. There's a few things like the placement of these particular lights that could use a second pass. And there's definitely a few things about the way that some of the rooms have been designed, as well as the layout of the rooms with this very claustrophobic, very closed off method. Each of the individual rooms is very nice. Each one has like its own concept it's bringing to the table, but it's also closed off. It is its own concept rather than lending to the concept of the house as a whole. And to that end, when I come in here and I'm looking around, yeah, there's a black room here with this nice ceiling and this really bright floor, but it doesn't lend anything to the greater portion of the house because it's just a black room with a great ceiling and a bright floor. That's all it is. Now, that being said, like I said previously and in closing, there are a lot of really cool ideas that are popping up in this house that I've seen. But unfortunately, it definitely lends into the fact that the house was definitely created to associate with a specific type of design or a specific look from the exterior, and then was hastily assembled on the interior, but doesn't have any cohesive quality. There's not really much of anything that I can really point to and say this is a really wonderful house, because it's a lot of wonderful rooms and a wonderful exterior, but none of it has real cohesion. And to really drive my point home, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to break this wall. It's actually not going to let me. Here's what we're going to do. I'm actually going to go out. We're going to go ahead and save this so I can come back to it later if I want to. Maybe I'll finish it. I'm not quite sure, but I'm actually going to go out. We're going to go to... Whoop. Here we go. And I'm actually going to play. I'm going to edit the property, because I have a feeling that there's some wasted space next to the... next to that kitchen there. And, aha. So, okay. So they did not. So there is a little bit of wasted space underneath the stairs here, but I did forget that the stairs are here. Let's see. Is there anything down here? No. Looks like there was a few mistakes here and there. This is the first time I've ever gone this deep into one like this. I'm not looking at this to kind of poke fun at the developer. I'm more just kind of proving a point that there was a lot of effort put into this house, and I applaud that effort. There was a lot of design elements put into the exterior, and I applaud that effort as well. There was a lot of effort put into designing each individual room and each individual space, and I do applaud that effort. There's a lot of room for improvement, and I can see a valiant effort has been made here, and I would like to see that improvement. But as it stands, it's really hard for me to give a good review of this house as a whole because it has no cohesion. It also puts a lot of strain on the player to be able to see the house in anything beginning to feel like a dream home that it's meant to be. And unfortunately, it's just not very good at appeasing its goal. Additionally, there's this. There, I noticed this when I first walked in, but it didn't actually fully click until I started working on the house. Mostly because there was not really a lot that I did outside. There is a chimney here. I'm not exactly certain what the chimney is trying to accomplish because there's not really a whole lot here that can use that chimney. It it does feel like maybe they saw this idea in like a magazine, or maybe they saw like a picture of the house somewhere and tried to recreate it, but didn't have the interior, so they just kind of made it up as they went, which is perfectly fine. Absolutely, architects actually do that all the time. A lot of architects will see ideas for homes and then modify it to maybe fit their own needs for maybe a client or what have you. Just like in literary works, ideas are borrowed and traded very often in this particular field. So, absolutely, I could see that happening. And again, I really do see a lot of potential in some of the creative ways that cabinets and things like that have been used here. I would like to see improvement. And with that, we're going to call it a day. Have a good one, my dudes. Cheers.